Are you shifting into what is defined as this new earth paradigm? It's a shift in human consciousness, it's a shift in human awareness that many people are going through on a very personal level right now. Now, not everybody is making this shift. Some people have no idea what I'm even talking about. This is a split that is occurring within human consciousness as some of us are making this shift. Perhaps for you it's happened years ago that through a traumatic event you've awakened, you've woken up from this illusion and you're stepping into this higher consciousness. Now, there are different ways of articulating this which has been spoken about, and specifically today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite quotes from a book I read over 16 years ago called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Very similar title to that of Dolores Cannon's book, The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. Some of you have read that book. Both books and other spiritual texts point to this specific time in humanity's evolution that we're in right now. A time of awakening, a time where an entire species is shifting into a higher dimension. Not everybody is making it. Not everybody is having a very personal spiritual awakening and waking up from this delusion or illusion that we call it. This book talks a lot about the collective delusion that humanity has been in for eons. We reached a point over the last 50 years where it was essential. In fact, a call was given out from Gaia itself that the planet needed help and assistance, that we needed to shift into a higher frequency, a higher vibration, because of an event that happened. Many of you are familiar with this event that happened during World War II. In the deserts of the United States, a test was done, an atomic test that sent out reverberations into different dimensions and frequencies. At this point, a call was given out for a collective incarnation into our evolving species. Now, this had been done before. There were many early seeds, Jesus and the Buddha to name a few early seeds, but humanity wasn't ready when they walked the earth. And their message got largely misinterpreted. We're coming into a time where we are ready now as a species to make this shift and evolve into a higher form of consciousness. Now, not everybody is going to make this shift. Some of people I talk to have no idea what I'm talking about. Some people in your own life have no idea what you are going through. And I even got a message before about someone talking about the challenges that they are going through at a personal level right now. Many of us are going through great times of personal challenge. We often have to break down in our lives to break through to something different. And we are being challenged to let go of what no longer serves us so that we can shift into this new frequency and dimension. Dolores Cannon's work spoke much about this specific time. Even though she's passed away, a lot of what she spoke about in her books is coming to pass as I'm communicating this message right now. The world is changing at such a rapid rate that a lot of us are struggling to even keep up with the changes. And this is only going to increase enormously through this year of 2024. I always say get excited for those that are awake and aware about this, because just before a breakthrough, what precedes a breakthrough is a breakdown. Perhaps it's with your relationships. Perhaps they're breaking down. Perhaps you've lost your job. Perhaps the universe is conspiring what may seem to be against you, but it's pushing you to where you need to be. Who knows what I'm talking about? Who knows that sometimes human beings love change, but human beings tend to not like to change. And so often the universe will force us out of a situation to get us to where we need to be. This is happening for many people on the planet right now. We're being forced. I've been through it, believe you me, over the last couple of months, been through what appeared to be hell for me. However, what I realized is it wasn't happening to me. It was happening for me. For my spiritual, for my evolutionary growth. It was pushing me to where I needed to be. And I was being forced to discard outdated beliefs, ideas, and an older version of myself. Who knows what I'm talking about? Perhaps you can let me know in the chat, because I want to read some really important passages from this book, which was written years ago, that are pertaining to what we are specifically going through right now. And I see 111 on my screen. I love these synchronicities when it comes up. The book talks about this in chapter 1, that to recognize one's own insanity, and this is important, is the arising of sanity. The very idea that you are aware that you are shifting is the beginning stages of you shifting. Now, those that read books like this and have no idea what they talk about are obviously not shifting and waking up. And so it's meaningless. The book actually specifically talks about this. This content is meaningless to those that aren't going through the shift. And we aren't meant to change anybody. In fact, that's the old consciousness, trying to change and convert, and our God is the only true God, and we've got the answers and you don't, and we're trying to shift you. That is the old Piscean age, and many people are wanting to stay with it as this astrological event is occurring. People are staying with the old age of Pisces, and then some are moving and shifting into this new age of Aquarius. Let me share some important quotes from this book that are pertaining to what I'm talking about. When Jesus and Buddha walked the earth, the world was not ready for them. Their teachings, although both simple and powerful, became distorted, misinterpreted, and in some cases they were even recorded incorrectly. Over the centuries, many things were added that had nothing to do with the original teachings, but they were reflections of the fundamental misunderstanding. Some of these teachers were ridiculed, reviled, or killed. Others were worshipped as gods. Teachings that pointed to beyond the dysfunction of the human mind and the way out of the collective insanity were distorted and became part of the insanity itself. This is what happened with mainstream religion. Also, religions to a larger extent became divisive rather than a unifying force, instead bringing about an ending to violence. They brought more hatred. They brought more violence, more division between people, as well as different religions. Our religion versus your religion, our God versus your God. They became ideologies, belief systems. People could identify with them. So this is the epitome of the Piscean age. Top-down, hierarchical control, disempowering people, the masses at the bottom. But we have an opportunity to shift out of this collective insanity and into sanity and into peace. Dolores Cannon's book, Conversations with Nostradamus, speaks about this time as being 1,000 years of peace on the earth. Another set of scriptures which was misinterpreted was John of Patmos's vision in the New Testament. The book of Revelations, he said, and I quote, "I see a new heaven and a new earth," because the old earth was passing away and the new earth was here. Many are going to stay with, and I quote Dolores Cannon, with what they have created. The old earth, the old negativity, the war, the violence, the competitiveness, the division, the political spectrum, all of that, coming into a political year in the US. Again this year, people thinking they're going to find salvation, the answer in a different leader. It never worked for thousands of years. Do you think it's going to start working now? And people get caught up in all of this. The only way we're going to experience transformation is first within ourselves and through a profound shift in human consciousness. Many of you are going through that. I've gone through this experience myself. It's happened over 17 years of gradual awakening. Many people are waking up now during this time. They're finding this spiritual work. They're finding channels like this. They're tuning in. They're becoming a part of this change. The good news about this is every single person that awakens sets a momentum for more people to awaken. This book speaks directly to that. So the fact that you have awakened, the very fact that you've done that on a personal level, you're sending out an energetic vibration to help others also wake up. Perhaps they're in your own life. Perhaps they're friends and family that you're influencing. We're not meant to change anybody. Our job is to awaken ourselves and work on our own frequency and our own vibration. The byproduct of that is that you are going to energetically affect all of those around you. Dolores Cannon shared a video once where she said, you energetically will walk through a crowded space and the very vibration of your energy would affect all those around you. That's how powerful we are, and we often do not give ourselves credit for the power that we have. We have always been divine, free will creators. The question is, what do we give our attention and power to? Because what you give your attention to expands in your experience. It becomes your experience. We don't get what we want in life, we get what we are. We send out energy all the time into this reality and it magnetizes that energy back to us. Most people are creating unconsciously rather than with intention. So I like to teach people how to intentionally create their reality. Or you might like to say, manipulate energy, learn to manipulate energy. What does that mean? It means to become a master manifester, a master creator. Now, most people aren't doing this. Most people, even that call themselves spiritual, don't even regularly meditate. So they're not creating the conditions within their consciousness to match the newer energies. Now, this is going to happen with or without me, and this is going to happen with or without you. This shift is occurring. This is a planetary and cosmic event that is occurring. So not everybody is ready for that, and that is okay. But those that are ready are going through what could be a profound challenge right now, because you're being challenged to discard that which no longer serves you. And so what appears to be a negative in your life that seems to be something happening to you is actually happening for you, for your spiritual, for your evolutionary growth. It's pushing you, it's forcing you to make the changes. Now, I'm going to read some of the comments because I love reading some of the feedback. Do we have many comments? I claim positive energy. Thank you to the universe. 111. I saw 111 before on the screen. Claiming, yeah, speaking into our reality. Speaking into existence. You know, words and thoughts shape our reality. Most people are constantly communicating what they don't want in their experience, and they wonder why they see that show up time and time again. I like to teach people how to consciously create, to manifest, to create intentionally. That's why I do my work in past life regressions. Often people have past life experiences, energy from past life. Dolores Cannon called it soul memory, that affects them in this life, perhaps from a past life that's unresolved. Illness in the body can be anger stored in our energetic body that hasn't been alchemized and released. This is why it's important to express emotions. It's important to release and to not hang on to stuff. And many of us are being challenged to relinquish that which no longer serves us. You know, I used to be one of those people that held on to resentment and unforgiveness. And when I learned to forgive, I was able to release myself from toxicity that wasn't serving me, that was keeping me stuck to a paradigm and a reality that I didn't want. When I chose to take my power back and to disidentify with that which no longer served, I was able to step into my soul's purpose. Often we won't learn what our soul's purpose is when we're stuck in all the mud and the junk. And sometimes you've got to let all that stuff go. Because when you understand the work of Eckhart Tolle and many other people, is that this moment that you are living right now is the only moment that you've got. Why are you holding on to a previous moment that doesn't even exist anymore? And that was the big challenge for me, is to release all of that bitterness and resentment towards those people that once hurt me years ago, and to realize it was over and done, and that I was free in this moment to create from the present moment. See, that is where your power is. Your power is not holding on to someone that wronged you in the past and you think that you get power from it. Your power is to take it back from all of those people and places and things that you've given it away to. To embrace your power and then to create intentionally. This was what Dolores Cannon meant when she's spoken about manipulating energy. To not, in the negative sense, obviously, to manipulate people, but to manipulate, to mold and to shape energy, to create intentionally. Really, another word for this is manifestation. To manifest your reality. The reality that you want, not the one that's just playing out on a program. Hello, Tammy. I can see that you've written some things there. I had a spiritual awakening after my son passed. I'm sorry to hear that your son had passed. For many of us, it is through a loss or grief or traumatic event that we wake up. The reason is for that is because the pain gets so hard, it's so unbearable. It's like waking up from a nightmare. It feels, and I'm sure when you lost your son, it felt like you were living a nightmare. You are forced to wake up. Have you had a dream at night where the nightmare is so unbearable that you wake yourself up in the dream and realize it's a dream? This is kind of what it's like in this reality. Sometimes we've got to experience what seems to be the worst possible thing. I mean, I'm sympathizing with you there, Tammy, because I can't imagine what it would be like to lose a child. It's probably the worst grief one can experience. And yet, the other side of that is that you've woken up and now you've had a spiritual awakening. I've come to learn, and I've worked with thousands of people over the years in regression work and therapy work, is that death is just an illusion anyway. And often our loved ones that do pass over come back as guides, or they're very much connected with us still. We can't see them because they're in a different dimension, but we can still communicate with them. I wonder if, Tammy, you still have connection to your son. Maybe you can let me know there in the chat. One of the most common ways people wake up is through a suffering event. For me, it was a prolonged legal challenge that lasted years. And the suffering was so bad, the depression, the anxiety, the pain, the struggle was so severe that it woke me up. Now I wouldn't be communicating with you now, having this conversation, if I didn't go through that suffering event. So although you can't get your son back, Tammy, what you can do is you can learn the lessons that are there for you to learn. It doesn't mean the grief goes away, but you do this one thing that is so profound, and I will quote the great late Wayne Dyer: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's one of the most profound quotes I've ever heard, because it doesn't mean we can change an event that has occurred, but we can change our perception of the event. And the very change in perception changes our association to it. You can move from a place of being stuck to a place of empowerment. You can do what I did, is that you take your life back, and although there is loss and grief and suffering, you begin to use it to bring good and remedy into the world. And that's what I did with my life through my suffering event. And now I share and help and spread a message that uplifts people, that helps people. I live with purpose on purpose. I could have been stuck there in all that old pain, but I chose to take my power back. And many of us are being challenged right now to take back our power and begin to use it for the good. As we move through this time of change, and it is a huge, and believe you me, it's going to get even more pronounced. It's going to become more obvious as we go through this year. Really understand why you are here from a soul's level. I call this the universal question: what is my soul's purpose? Why am I incarnated right now? What am I meant to add to this collective energy? Do I have a part to play? I think this is so important. Someone has said me too. I'm not sure exactly. Love that quote Tammy has said. Yeah, so, it profoundly changed my life when I heard that quote from Wayne Dyer. I quote it almost every day when I communicate, because it really does mean we can experience life differently through a different lens. You move from a place of something happening to you to a place of something happening for you. And as I said, even though people pass into the non-physical, we are still very connected to our soul group. In fact, I've got people in my life. I've lost my father through an illness, and grandparents through age. I still have much connection with them. And they help me. They're now my guides. And so nothing, when you change that perspective, nothing is really ever lost. And so that is comforting to know. If we don't have any more questions, sometimes people have questions, so I like to answer some questions when I do these lives, but I like to keep them relatively short, and we're over 25 minutes. You can always DM me on Instagram, or you can email me at paul@pwilliamsofficial.com. I'll leave that in the comments as well if you want to reach me directly. But I will see you next time I communicate here on YouTube.